Basically, when you start a poultry farm, you must always know that there are things which will hinder you. 2024 year has been one of the hardest years, especially for Ugandans where I live. I live in Uganda and people have been struggling a lot. The eggs were so low in the prices, the feeds were so high. Basically, the economy was so bad. Not that things are not moving, but the economy for farmers has been so down. The examples I gave you, all the reasons why many people in the politics have joined the farming just for the sake of joining, for accountability, because of corruption. If you're corrupt and they come to you, maybe the auditor comes to your home, says, show us how do you get this money to build this mansion. So these politicians have gone into farming specifically just to hide their corruption. So they come, they set up poultry farms, and in such farms, they end up making our eggs go down. But now, we are saying we don't give up. Those who haven't started, this is now coming to 2025. We are at the end of 2024. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. If you haven't started a farm, these are the steps you must follow to start a farm 2025. To start with, you must have the courage, the zeal, and the passion to start a poultry farm. Of course, we too started small. So that's why I'm saying you must start small. Start with what you can afford. Don't bother your friends. Don't bother your family members. Contribute all the money for you. If you have to start with any number, maybe 50 birds. From there, you can grow slowly by slowly. You can say our 2024 has not been good, but at least we achieved some of the things. We had to expand our piggery. We had to at least maintain our poultry house with the birds. We had to maintain our poultry project. In the hardship ever, we had to go through a lot. So when you start small, you realize that your birds are growing, your farm is growing. Let's say you started with 50 birds. Those 50 birds, you may need only chicks, you need only feeds, you need housing, then you need some labor. The labor is you. Let us say you are maybe employed somewhere, or you are just a student who has finished university, or you are an elderly person who has retired. The 50 birds, you need a little money, something like maybe $100 to start with. But as you finish for the 6 months, you need about $300. That is about 1 million Ugandan shillings. 1 million is not much money if you are somebody who has retired. But for a student, it may be too much money. But you save, as I say, you start with what you can afford. You keep saving slowly. You can even save it for 2 years until you start. Now, 2025 is here. If you start small. But again, you must choose the breed. You must choose the niche of the poultry you want to take. Are you going for layers? Are you going for broilers? Are you going for local or indigenous? You must choose. Once you have chosen, it means your farm will run. You can see, at this we're in the village right now. We are not at the farm because this is Christmas season. Of course, also farmers have some time out. Then we rest. But of course, as we are out there, we keep thinking, what can we do? So in the village here, I'm looking at what can I put in this land? What can I put? Because I will be in the farm. But this is a retirement home. You can imagine all of us, everybody has to learn. We said no, nobody is too rich to receive and nobody is too poor to give. And again, knowledge is not poison. We learn day by day. We learn from our friends. I learned from this guy, Muhammad Kachika. He always says, invest, cash flow, planning for your retirement. So I'm planning for my retirement. As I plan for my retirement, I must involve my family now. They must learn how to do poultry. You have been seeing me, I do things alone. Nobody is there. I do the farm alone. I'm in the farm, the eastern part of Uganda. Now this is the western part of Uganda. So I say, when I'm there, what should I do? I have put a small structure for them. Small structure for the birds. So that we start, what I teach you guys, we also at least put it at home. I want to grow this farm with you, slowly by slowly. So that structure is going to be for 50 birds. This small structure over here will be for 50 birds. Then those 50 birds, they will be expanding up all here. So by the time we finish, we'll be having about 500 birds in a few years' time. And I want that if you follow me, if you are my follower, if you're somebody who learns from me, You start this year, 2025 is coming, just only 2 days to go. Start with me, so that when I say I started small, you can be the testimony, you can be the witness. You say, this guy showed us a small structure that he would give to his family. Then the family members will take up the position to run that farm. And the project will thrive. And then when you are a witness, the whole world will know that there's nothing written on the stone. Everything can change. You can change your status. Now, we've said that you must have the niche. Now the birds are at home. You have decided what you have to do. Like me, I want to do layers here. That's the way I do layers in Eastern Uganda. So when I do layers here, I know I must ensure that I get the right breed of those layers. The right breed of the layers. We have Issa Brown. We have the Highland Brown. Those are the major birds in Uganda here, and of course in Africa, because of our weather. You know, these birds are specifically chosen because of the weather. Those birds can at least persevere in bad weather, either rainy season or dry season. We have major in Africa 2 seasons where you live in Uganda here. We have the rainy season and dry season. And again, these days, the weather is so unpredictable. It can be so hot, so cold, so rainy, so dry. So those birds can at least persevere, Highland Brown and Issa Brown. Now that they are there, if you have chosen the niche, now you know the birds you know the birds you want to bring. It means you must ensure that the housing is good. You can see over here, there is a mesh in the roof, there is a small door, then there are iron sheets. That brings me to, when we say you have to start small, what are you to start with? Start with what is available. What is available, number one, is you as the labor. You are the labor. Don't think of hiring somebody for 50 birds. You can never break even. So since you are the labor, you are going to construct this structure alone. You need just a hammer. You need these leftover iron sheets. Use what you have to get what you want. These iron sheets were leftovers from the construction of a house. Now that the house is fully finished, these iron sheets which were left behind, we couldn't throw them away or sell them as scrap. No, we had to gather them, construct a house with them. And so these poles which are in, they were used for ladders. When the builders were building, they were used for ladders. So all that can't be thrown away. In fact, the nails we used were also the leftovers of the nails. Well, whenever you buy the iron sheets, you buy the nails, you buy the wood, some of the things must remain. So all of this remained behind. So we had to construct a small house. Let's go and see this house, how big it is. This house is a small structure which all of us can afford, especially if you are a young person who has finished school. We are measuring here, this is 10 feet by 11 feet behind. So I usually say every bird occupies 1.5 square feet. That is a layer bird. So if your birds are to come in your farm and you bring 50 birds, you just get this structure of this size. Then you know you start small. Even if you have to bring 500 birds, for those who can afford, you ensure that every bird occupies 1.5 square feet. So how do we measure that? You get the length of the structure times the width of the structure. The number you get, or the total number of the figures you get, you divide by 1.5. Let's take an example. If I have 10 by 10 feet, that is 10 times 10. That is 100 square feet. Then that 100 divided by 1.5. How many do you get? We are saying use what is available. You as the labor, and they use the materials for structure. Now, we must ensure that we have biosecurity. You saw me on that fence. This panga was used to cut the fence. This fence around was built slowly as I built the house. So we don't need to have the bricks to build our fences. We don't need to have the concrete to build our fences. This is a local material building our fence. These are the plants, these are the shrubs we have. This was, we call it olokoni in central Buganda, central region of Uganda. But in Western Uganda, we call it or call it what? This orientation. That one, it has some sap, but the goats don't eat it, and the cows don't eat it, but you can see. And again, the snakes don't go in. Meanwhile, when you are starting, you must use cheap materials. So this fence is used for biosecurity. Why do you say biosecurity? Because everyone coming to your farm will pass on the same entrance, not everywhere. So when it comes from the same entrance, because everywhere is fenced, it means you will have your farm at least resisted from diseases. That is biosecurity. I want to say finally, as you do a farm, you must ensure that whatever you do, you train your family, starting small, because you don't need workers. Let us give an example. If you have a maid in the house, you have a wife, you have the kids, train them to do what you do. Let them know what you do. If a poultry farm and your kids can't even give feeds to the chicks, what is that? What is that? That would be very wrong. Using a small thing for like a jerry can to give them as a waterer or a basin as a feeder. The kids should be able to know that the basin can also be used for something else. That's why I say we are training people to do things physically, not mentally. I was on the site one time as a porter. The engineer told me that porters use the manual labor or they use their physical life, but the engineers use the brain and the physical life. That means train your kids to use both the mental and the physical. If your kids cannot know that the basin can feed the birds, can wash the clothing, can be used for bathing, teach them to use their brain. Let them use their mental. You are not poor. Your head brings you the poverty. As Innocent Tegusuba, the Ugandan TV socialite, says always, Toli mwavu, omutego gwe mwavu. Your head brings you the poverty. This is Kataps once again. See you next time, next video. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.